Assalamu alaikum. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi shrah sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Rabbi zidni ilma. I'm here with the paper 2, Computer Science 961822, May June 2021. The paper name is Fundamental Problem Solving and Programming Skills. The duration of the paper is 2 hours. You have to answer on the question paper. For this paper 2, you need insert which will be provided on the examination day. Instructions: you have to answer all the questions, use a black or a dark blue pen. You have to write your name, center number, and candidate number in the given boxes. Write your answer to each question in the given space. Do not use an erasable pen or correction fluid. Do not write on any barcodes. You may use an HB pencil for any diagrams, graphs, or rough working. Calculator must not be used in this paper. Paper is of 75 marks. The number of marks for each question or part question are given in brackets. No mark will be awarded for using the brand names, so please refrain from using the brand names. Insert contains all the resources referred to in the given questions. Question number 1. Complete the following table by giving the appropriate data type in each case. You can see the first variable is name. Its value that is given to you is Catherine, written in double quotations, and its data type is going to be string, as you all remember. Index contains 100, so its data type is integer. Modified is storing false, it means it's a boolean value. And holiday is holding a date, that's why it's a date data type. It means in this manner you will be able to score 4 out of 4. Now moving to the next one. Modified or index greater than 100. So you can see modified is holding false. So it means false or index greater than 100. In the value of index is equal to 100. So it's basically false or false. Modified is false or index is greater than 100 is also false. So definitely false or false results in evaluates to false. Length of student and then ampersand sign means concatenation with name. So you can just simply count the number of values here. You can simply say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then Catherine contains 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. That's why the length of student ampersand sign, which is concatenation name, gives you the value of 18. INT function applied, and then you can see here INT of your integer index. Index is holding 100 plus 2.9 is 102.9, and if INT is applied on it, it will become 102. Means it will remove the decimal part. It will truncate the decimal part. Mid name, comma 1, comma 3. Name is holding Catherine. So Catherine, it means from the word Catherine, it will be picking the first 3 characters. So you need to be clear. And just be clear, since the result is going to be a string value, that is why you need to put double quotations to indicate the result is a string value, and that will give you full of 4 marks for each of the following evaluation, each of the given evaluation question. Now, each pseudocode statement in the following table contains an example of selection, assignment, or iteration. Put 1 tick in the appropriate column for each statement. So now you can see this is your first one. First one is index, assignment operator, index plus 1. This is your assignment. If modified equals to true, then if condition checking, it's selection. So you will put a tick here. And then the last one is end while, and end while is iteration. And in this manner, you will be able to score 3 out of 3. Now moving to the next question. Question number 2. Examine the following state transition diagram, and you can see this is your STD, state transition diagram, which has the beginning with X. This is your start. Then S1. Then S1 is moving to the S2, and here you can see low level detected and activate pump. And then S2, again low level detected will result in the same state, S2. then normal level detected, deactivate pump, then it is the normal level detected, and then S3 is this is your final or your can say ending situation. Complete the table with reference to the diagrams. This is your diagram, and then we have a few questions. The number of transitions that result in a different state. So you can see states are S1, S2, S3, three states are there. That's why the result is going to be 3. The number of transitions with associated outputs. So here we can see the outputs are your, you can see activate pump is the first output, as you can see here. Activate pump is the first output and deactivate pump is the next output. So in this manner, you have two outputs and these are your two outputs. The label that should replace X is going to be star, and then the final or halting state is going to be your S3. So this will again be completing of the table and that will give you 4 out of 4. Current state is S1. The following inputs occur: low level detected, low level detected, low level detected, and low level detected. 4 times it's low level detected. So if we move back to the diagram, the current state is S1 and you are moving from S1 to S2 and low level is detected. It means it is going to be S2. And then low level detected again, it will remain S2, low level detected again, S2, low level detected again, S2. It means here you can see it's low level detected with the same result. So it means it will be the same S2. So this will be your situation, low level detected activate pump, and S2 is the next state. And here the question is dealing with the current state is S1, the following inputs occur. Number of outputs are going to be 1 and current state will be still S2. It will remain unchanged. It will remain S2 after the first low level detected is can say is done. And since it will be the repetition, that's why the state is going to be same, and that is S2. This is a 2-mark question, and in this manner you will be able to score 2 out of 2. Part B. A system is being developed to help manage book loans in a library. Registered users may borrow books from the library for a period of time. Registered users. So this is important. Registered users may borrow books from the library for a period of time. State 3 items of data that must be stored for each loan. Now, first thing is user ID or username, you can say book ID because the book that has been borrowed, its ID, and date of loan or the return date. So out of these, you can say, you can mention any of these 3, like you can mention user ID, you can mention book ID, you can mention date of loan or username or return date. And in this manner, if you have mentioned all the 3 values properly, then you will be scoring 2 out of 2. Part 2. State one item of data that will be required in the library system but does not need to be stored for each loan. It's a general one. State one item of data that will be required in the library system. Now just to make you understand, but does not need to be stored for each loan. So what you need to store, you can store the user's name or that's his address or phone number or his date of birth. Similarly, you can hold book title or the author's name or the publisher's name or the library rack number, the ISBN number or the price, the length of the loan, assuming that all the books are given for the same time period. So a student can mention any of these answers and he will be able to score 1 out of 1. The third part, identify one operation that manipulates the data stored for each loan would produce a list of all overdue books. Identify 2 other operations. One operation is the loan, the data. One operation with that manipulates the data stored for each loan would produce a list of all overdue books. A list of all overdue books is given to you, and you are asked to mention any other 2 operations apart from the one that is mentioned here. So you can see this one is simply dealing with the loan, nothing else with the loan. So you can say creating a loan or borrow the book, return the book. We can send letters or emails or contact a user regarding an overdue book. Like for example, if the book is overdue, then we can contact the person. view the loan history for a given book, and view the loan history for a given user. So these are all the values that you can, like the operations that can be performed on the data that's stored for each loan. Most important is just this particular action that you need to answer with respect to. No other answer that is mentioned with respect to the library system will be entertained, will be giving you any mark, because that is dealing with only this particular situation. Question number 3. The following diagram represents an abstract data type ADT. This is the abstract data type. You can see A, then it is dolphin, then cat, then fish, and then elk, and then it is B. Identify this type of ADT. Since you know this is the ADT that is linked list, that means it is linked list, the only answer. Give the technical term for the item labeled A in the diagram. So this A is your beginning or your start pointer. That will give you 1 mark again. Then give the technical term for the item labeled B in the diagram. Explain the meaning of the value given to this item also. So here we can see the value is B, and this value B is indicating the end, or you can say the null pointer. So this null pointer is going to be the answer for the term, and meaning is that that is indicating that there are no further nodes in the list. That is the end of the list, or remember that this is a node. Part D. Complete the diagram to show the ADT after the complete the diagram to show the ADT after the data has been sorted in alphabetical order. Sorted in alphabetical order. This is the most important thing. So you need to see. Like first thing that we can see here is dolphin, then cat, then fish, and then elk. So we'll start with the first value, like this is my start. And from the start, it will go to cat. So I'll have to draw a line from here to here, and that will be the next first one. Then from cat, it will go to dolphin, which is your next node. Then from dolphin, it will move to E, which is elk. And then from elk, it will move to fish. And then a null pointer is going to be here. And this null pointer indicates the end of your list. So this is going to be giving you the full marks. Okay. This will be your full marks 2 out of 2 because beginning. Then from here you are going to this elk. From elk you are going to fish, and we are finishing on fish. Question number 4. A teacher uses a paper-based system to store marks for a class test. A teacher uses a paper-based system to store marks for to score. A teacher uses a paper-based system to store marks for a class test. The teacher requires a program to assign grades based on these results. The program will output the grades together with the average mark. Write a detailed description of the algorithm that we will be needing. Then you can see for yourself, it's basically the detailed description that is needed here. And for that, there is no requirement of the pseudocode or the algorithm. They are simply asking you to write the detailed description. So what is needed here? The first thing is we need to talk about the declaration of a few variables. So if you had explained that you need a few variables here, like for example, declaring the variables to store the counting of students who have like how many students are here, then it is going to be the total marks also are supposed to be declared. Then loop through all the students, and that will be just a count that you need to perform. You have to input individual marks in the loop. Now be clear, in the loop is very important, that you can see that you have to iterate and the inputs will be taken inside the loop. Compare marks with threshold, the boundary values to determine the grade. Like definitely you are given some threshold values, like A star is going to be within this boundary, or A will be within this boundary, B will be within this boundary. So we have to compare the input that is given with the grade boundaries to find out that what is the grade of the child. And this action will be again a repetition. That is why it has to be inside a loop. We have to output the grade for a student again in a loop because we have to do it for each individual student, and we have to calculate, maintain a total, and definitely count if required. And this also has to be in a loop and calculate the average by dividing total by count and output. This is going to be after the loop. So most important that you need to see here is what is needed inside, what is needed outside, and it has to be mentioned properly to make a clear understanding. Inputs taken in a loop, comparison done in a loop, outputting the grade for each student again in a loop, and we have to find out the total because for average we need the total, and that has to be inside a loop also, and counting if needed. And after the loop is over, the iterations are over, then outputting the average, and that has to be calculated also before we moved on to output. And since we do not know the number of iterations, that's why it has to be divided. It has to be dividing total by count and output it in after the loop. After the loop is over, the calculation is done and output will be there. And in this manner, if you have mentioned any of these 6 points out of 7 mentioned here, you will be scoring 6 out of 6. But be clear, it has to be proper explanation, detailed explanation is needed to gain the full marks. Question number 5. Question number 5A. A student is learning about arrays. She wants to write a program to declare a 1D array Rnum of 100 elements of type integer. This is your first requirement. Declare an array, a 1D array, that is the name is given to you, of 100 elements of type integer. So this is done first. Declare Rnum colon array 1 colon 100 of integer. This is the syntax that we have learned for declaring the array. And since it is an integer, that's why this has given me a very clear hint that the data type of the array elements will be integer. Assign each element a random value in the range 1 to 200 inclusive. And for that, you need to refer to your insert, and we will see that how that insert is going to be. This insert will help us in finding out the function and using it properly. Count and output. Count and output. How many of the numbers are going to be generated between 66 and 173 inclusive? It's generating like 100 elements are here. You have to assign a random value between 1 to 200, and this value generated will be then found. If will be performed, condition checking is going to be done to find out that how many of the calculated numbers or the randomly generated numbers are falling in this range. So first thing, after declaration of the array is done, we need two more variables, one to handle the loop, that is for index equals to 1 to 100, and another one will be needed for just counting the number of elements, the number of numbers generated that are between the given range. So now after the loop is now declare index comma count integer, and we are initializing the variable count with 0 because again that is counting. Now you can see here this is your loop starting with for index equals to 1 to 100, and here it's next index. Inside this, the very first thing that we are doing, simply we are following the instructions one after the other. It says what? It says that assign each element a random value. So first thing is we are generating a random value, and this is the function that we have used here, rand 200. And since rand function is generating a, a real value, so we are applying int. Just see for yourself, rand 200 because 1 to 200 inclusive. We have generated a random value which is definitely going to be generating a decimal value or real value, and we are performing int function to remove the decimal part, just get the whole number part, and then +1 to get an integer value, and that is assigned to your array rnum at the index location. I'm repeating, random number generation, because 200 to 1 to 200 was the number given to me. That's why 200 is written here. Int function is applied, and that will give you, for example, assume that I applied this and the number generated was 66.95. So 66.95 was the number generated. Just okay, now just to make you understand, let me talk about an example. Assume it was 66.95. 66.95 was the number generated, so it will be applying int. This is the result of this function. Fine. Int is applied, and that means it will be removing the decimal part. Now, if I apply int, it means it will be removing the decimal part. And this is the function of int. And then +1 is done, and that will be giving you 67. The last one is +1, and then it will be giving you 67. So this is what the whole function is going to be. The whole line is going to be doing. Rand function, then int applied, and then +1 to add a 1 to it, and then that will be stored in the first location. Now, if our num of index is greater than or equal to 66 and our num of index is less than or equal to 173, because that is mentioned here, between 66 and 173 inclusive, then count equals to count +1. We are simply supposed to count and output how many of the numbers generated were between this value. So we have simply performed this count equals to count +1 end if, and we are done with the work. Now moving to the later part. After that, next index, and we are simply outputting in the end the now part B. The student decides to modify the algorithm so that each element of the array will contain a unique value. Describe the changes that the student needs to make to the algorithm. The student decides to modify the algorithm so that each element of the array will contain a unique value. Describe the changes that the students need to make to the algorithm. So for the first thing that he needs to do is initialize the array to a rogue value to indicate unassigned elements. A rogue value, a value that is used to an unknown value. Okay, now part B. The student decides to modify the algorithm so that each element of the array will contain a unique value. Describe the changes that the student needs to make to the algorithm. First is initialize the array to a rogue value to indicate unassigned elements. Secondly, he has to add a conditional loop that will be needed to generate and store a random number in the correct range. He has to check the stored number against the value stored already in the array. If the stored number is found, then generate another random value. So this is going to give you a unique value. Otherwise, add it to the array and exit the loop. So this is going to give you 3 out of 3 if you have mentioned any of the 3 points that are mentioned here in the answer. Part B. The following is a pseudocode function. Line numbers are given for reference. So this is your function. Function string clean. It is getting a parameter in string and it is returning string value. Declare next char. Declare outstring a string. Declare counter integer. Outstring is initialized with a null string with an empty value. Line number 8 is left just to make it more readable. Line number 9 for counter, assignment operator 1 to length of int string. Next char will hold mid int string comma counter comma 1. Next char will hold L case of next char. Like firstly, it will find the mid value, then it will be converting it into lowercase. If not next char less than A or next char greater than Z, then outstring assignment operator outstring ampersand sign concatenation with next char end if next counter, and it is returning outstring and end function. Examine the pseudocode and complete the following table. The first one is give a line number containing an example of an initializing statement. So initializing is done in line number 7. So here we can see line number 7 is the right answer. Then the next one, give a line number containing the start of a repeating block of code. Repeating block of code means a loop. So what is the beginning of your loop? Which line is containing the beginning of a loop line number 9, or you can mention 09. After that, give a line number containing a logic operation. Logic operation is this one. So this will be your line number 12. And lastly, it is the give the number of parameters to the function mid. So here we can see mid function. Let's move back to mid function. And it is getting parameters like in string, comma counter, comma 1. So there are 3 parameters, and that will give you the answer of 3. And this is your complete answer. Write a simplified version of the statement in line number 12. So here you observe that line number 12 is dealing with something like if not next char less than A or next char greater than Z, then rather than using not, we can make it simple just by writing if next char is greater than A and next char less than Z. So this is going to be the change that you need to bring in here. If next char is greater than or equal to A and next char is less than or equal to Z, then, and the use of an and in between. So that will give you 2 out of 2 because you have identified the 2 brackets properly, you have used the assignment operator, you have used the and condition properly, and you have written the 2 conditions properly. Question number 6. A procedure count vowels will be called with a string containing alphanumeric characters as its parameter. Count and output the number of occurrences of each vowel, A, E, I, O, U in the string. Count and output the number of occurrences of the other alphabetic characters as a single total. The string may contain both upper and lowercase characters. Each value will be stored in a unique element of a global 1D array char count of type integer. The array will contain 6 elements. Write pseudocode for the procedure count vowels. So procedure is by the name count vowels, as you can see, and it's written here, be called with a string containing alphanumeric characters as its parameter. So that is a clear indication that this is going to be a string value. So this is your procedure count vowels, and it is going to be called with the value like this. This is going to be the beginning, and your end is going to be with an end procedure. So let's see, this is your just an indication, and let's do everything stage by stage. Now this is called with a, so this is actually containing this is called with a string value. Count and output the number of occurrences of each vowel. It means from this string we have to extract each character, and we have to check each character that whether it's a vowel or not. So for this, what we need a loop that is going to be starting from 1, and it will be working till the length of string. So that is your this situation. You need a loop here, and you need to count. You need definitely you need you need to count, and you need to store this value in this char. So this char will be picking the values one by one, and will be storing the values also. So we need to talk about the AEIU small. So what have we done? First thing is we have simply done one thing. We have actually initialized, or you can say the char count was my array containing 6 elements. So very first thing that we have done is we have simply initialized our array char count with a 0, because that will be holding an integer value. That's why it is initialized with a 0. Then we have index starting with 1 to length of this string, and this, what we are doing here is we are simply performing the extraction of the character one by one, and this is done through the use of mid this string comma index comma 1. This string is going to be assume any value is going to be here. We'll talk about the situation also. And this string comma index position number 1 comma 1. 1 comma 1 means first character is picked, and we are simply converting it into lowercase by using L case. So mid function to extract from the string one character at a time, and then it will be converted into lowercase by using L case function, and after the conversions are done, it will be stored in the variable this char that is of type character. We are simply performing the check by using case of this char, and we are checking the conditions. If it's an A, char count 1 equals char count 1 plus 1, because the char count is my array. So simply store the value store the value after performing plus 1, the counting is done, and it will be stored in the char count location number 1. Char count location 2 will hold the value for E. Char count location 3 will hold the value for I. Char count 4 will hold the value for O. How many letters, how many O's are appearing in my string. Then it will be holding the location if the value is a U. Char count 5 will be the location to store, and otherwise char count 6 will be holding the like consonants and n case. And we are finishing the next in with the next index. The loop is the loop is over, and we are simply outputting the values one by one. For index equals to 1 to 6, output char count of index and next index. Okay, now just think of an example. Let's talk about an example, and this will be able to make the whole concept very clear to you. Assume the number that was the string that was passed to it was computer science. Or just simply computer. Let's keep it a little simple right now and just take it the word computer to make you understand that this is what you will even do in the examination. Just take some value to make us understand that what is the situation. Okay. It will be okay now. One by one, the letters will be picked. They'll be checked against the against A, E, I, O, U, and they'll be added to the respective locations. And once the loop is over, then they will be outputting the total vowels, and the work will be done. In this manner, you'll be able to get to score the marks that are given to you, and that is your 8 marks. Jazakallah khairan Kasira for being a part of the learning journey. Be linked with my channel so that the other questions of this paper will be shared very soon. Allah Hafiz, take very good care of yourself. May Allah bless you. Allah Hafiz.